October 15th. We're getting very close to the election, and we have major problems. We have the FEC that has refused materials that have come before them. They've refused legal service. Federal law clearly states that if they have a domain, anyone that has a domain must receive service and must address communications. The FEC has failed to do so. I've had 2 attempted assassination attempts on my life. This occurred before Mr. Trump even had a bullet fired at him. I'm still dealing with the mass situation. The FEC refuses to show proper mapping of the reality of what's actually transpiring in this election. Those records are perpetuating a falsity. They are not reflecting the truth that we are in insurrection. There is no disclosure anywhere that I see that the FEC is displaying insurrection. Is there anybody that's seeing something different? Because they don't have it. There's no accountability and investigation for respective money spent that in effect has caused violence. Information turned over to the FEC has not been tabulated properly into the situation. Billions of dollars in losses made me the #1 spending candidate because the law says that these costs due to insurrection, due to parties attacking a candidate, due to parties rigging elections, that this tremendous amount of violence, burglaries, attempted assassinations, that these items all fall into the straight-out financial cost. Compensation factors, those all have to be added into the cost. When at this stage we got to the point where $2.8 billion is required to build and repair the archive, to retrieve classified information, to explain by mail to voters individually what has transpired. $2.8 billion, that was a figure I posted a while back. That figure is, well, it's the truth, but the truth is there are figures far, far higher. There were additional lawsuits, unresolved, evidence, legal research, personal paperwork, personal ownership, copyrights, patents, additional lawsuits internationally. There's a factor involving the Russians owing $4 billion because they stole land. They captured it from the Germans, but it never belonged to the Germans. And the Russians were brutal and are also named as suspects or direct participants in murdering 16 additional members of the family. 86 people. 86 people murdered by either the Germans or the Russians. $4 billion worth of land, and that's an equated value. An attorney that did international litigation did an assessment in 1989. His assessment was $4 billion. That assessment's very old. So when you start adding the understanding that there are these other cases, we got numbers that go far higher, numbers that cannot be exactly determined without doing extreme professional calibrating of all the facts, going through all the procedures, going through, we have to retrieve this certain information. The method to do it is going to be very costly. How much? We don't know. We haven't gone through all the procedures yet. Parties are not cooperating with the emergency management budgets required. This is reality. This is reality. So again, here we are, October 15th. The investigation indicates at the legal level now, spanning multiple elections, the conduct of multiple parties, hierarchical parties, parties that were either appointed, some were elected, some were appointed and then became elected. But blacklisting of the truth is involved. Evidence is being withheld that is in the hands of the Justice Department. Numerous amounts of evidence. We'll talk about that. This is not a game, people. This is not a game. Look at what the FEC is trying to tell you. That's not the truth. They have omitted key information, and that means what they are posting is a false image and a lie. The candidate that has the most money owed or the most money spent because of damage is me. The number one financial cash layout candidate is me. It has been since the very beginning of these election stages, and I have been reporting information to people for 2 years. 2 years. Publicly posting and showing the enormous violence, the stealing, the breaking in, the destruction of computers, as certain high-end computers are stolen, hard drives stolen, data stolen. But some of the older computers were apparently believed to be, oh, these are older computers. They may not have valued information in them. So they violently break them into pieces. They took other actions that add up, that parties would identify with as parties who were putting forth a false signature to indicate a false trail as to which parties are involved, which factional interests are involved. This is something that I've had to be very careful about not displaying publicly because it's part of the investigation. Remember, much of the investigation is still under shield. This is not a game. This election is not a game. We have two major candidates that, according to the Constitution and articles of the United States, are not allowed to even be candidates. We don't have an election in this country. We have a nightmare. The facts are so numerous, you need dozens of milk crates to carry the evidence around. Dozens. Dozens. You have to float through information such as records at the FBI that deal with a previous instance involving a false arrest of a candidate. I use my call. Oh, you get to have a call. That's nice. I'm calling the FBI. And the FBI tells the cop, he says, what do you have? What's going on here? Hold on. And he starts checking. He says, well, number one, All this electronic information you're looking at is false. It doesn't add up. There's counter information on file. I'm checking it. He says, you're using a ghost signature in a device that has no relevant facts connected to it. In fact, it's completely erroneous because we have an up-to-date fact from another state that shows that everything in that electronic report is a lie. What is the situation? Yada, 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 through. Gets to the point. He says, look, this is what's going to happen. You're going to release this man. You're going to give him back his identification. And you're going to give him back his vehicle free of charge, or I will come down and arrest you. This is not a game. I'm not joking with you. You will do this, or I will come down and arrest you. This is recorded information in the phone records at the Justice Department. Once again, yes, the Justice Department has serious evidence of parties who have committed serious felonies against candidates. I have 18 mobile archive vehicles that have either been destroyed, stolen. Basically, the usabilities of these units is lost at this moment. Mobile broadcast, set up to be mobile broadcast units. Everybody can broadcast now. Welcome to the web. There are also archives. These things were ready to go. It's turn the key, start the motor, and drive it. It's ready to go. All you need to do is make sure that you have your current trip paperwork all laid out. These are vehicles that were equipped with maps extensively, GPS units. All units had GPS units in them. You know, this is just something that's ridiculous. 12 of these units on a freeway in Los Angeles. Driving around all day long, you could easily get 1 million people to see this. As I could not fire them up because of the actions of the ordered COVID shutdown and the shutdown of my income by the state of California. As the failure to cooperate, as Julie Sue blacklisted me, as they used my name to collect money from Congress, and they sat on it, and they refused to disperse it, and they stranded a fleet of archive campaign vehicles, directly attacking the core income of a candidate. That's an act of war, defined by the Constitution and Articles of the United States. The leading and abetting other parties and other criminal activity that lead to damage of archives, that's violations of national security. Those are espionage charges. The destruction of artifacts, well, first, attacking an archiver, which in this case, the candidate is also an archiver. These are another series of very serious felonies. The destruction of artifacts, some of which are older than the Constitution of the United States, brings about clear, again, understanding mandatory in law. The Constitution and Articles are clear. The punishment for the destruction of artifacts is the death penalty. You can't attack archives, it's the death penalty. We have insurrection and mass rebellion. We don't have an election, we have a nightmare. We have the Justice Department withholding key information necessary for the American public to understand the truth about what's transpired. There's no such thing as this candidate withdrawing. I'm under a sworn oath to protect the Constitution of the United States, and I have registered with the United States Archive, the original official way. And I have laid forth and recorded evidence into it for all time of the serious crimes that these people have committed. Violence, attempted assassination. I refuse. There is no withdrawing from this election from me. I have had the most damage of all the candidates combined financially. This total is beyond all the money combined that they have raised. This entire election and the process and the way most people are handling this stuff is lunacy. We are more than in danger. We are in direct jeopardy. This is not a game. These people are facing death penalty charges. They're refusing to cooperate with emergency management budgets in the midst of insurrection. Repeatedly. The various levels of the justice system have been infiltrated so deeply by foreign and domestic interest, it's mind-boggling. Again, my name is Michael Crosby, and I'm a candidate for POTUS. This is October 15th, and I continue as a candidate, and I continue to assert the accuracy of the evidence that I have recorded into the United States Archive involving insurrection and rebellion and the great ongoing injustices and dangers to our citizens each and every day. And I refuse to stand down and withdraw from the corruption